InfoWars.com.
All right, we got ourselves a bull, we got ourselves a bear, we have Joe Badpaglia, Stephen Nicholas, and we have CNBC contributor Jerry Bowyer. Hello, gentlemen. You know, I'm going to put TARP as a criminal enterprise alone. So I'm going to put it aside just for a second. But I want to ask you this. We talked about Rebecca Jarvis, this bank, Capital One. It's a big credit card bank. They're getting clobbered. The credit card credit story, okay? People are having troubles. Now, Joe B., you've been prognosticating this. Good for you. But I want to ask you this. I got Senator coming on in a couple of minutes who's a co-sponsor of legislation to put interest rate caps on credit cards. You know the last time we did that, Joe B.? 1980 under the Jimmy Carter administration. Do you know what happened when we put caps on credit card rates? Credit card credit evaporated, eviscerated, imploded. And guess what? That was the worst recession in the post-World War II period. You ever thought on this as Congress now attacks credit cards?
Well, there's 2 points. The first is that, unfortunately, the American public has had to rely more heavily on their credit cards, and now that indebtedness has become a burden which they can't bear, and that's why the losses are going higher and will continue to go higher through the rest of the year. And the second point is that this is just another example, Larry, of the government intervening in the free enterprise system and effectively now jerry-rigging interest rates and not paying attention to the fact that the losses that are being generated in this category are going up. Higher rates is a way for the banks to protect themselves from such losses, and now you will make this a less profitable business for the very banks you're trying to save. Again, conflicting everything from the TARP to the credit cards. Just another example of what you pointed out in the earlier sections of the show.
I mean, Jerry Bowyer, if the dopes in Congress, and I don't want to call them all dopes because they're not. Some of them are dopier than others, and some of them are smarter than others. But, Jerry, if they cause a credit card crunch with some bill that kicks in fast, that is going to destroy any prospects, in my opinion, of a recovery.
Yeah, some of them are smart, some of them are dopey, but none of them are smart enough to run the rest of our lives. None of them are smart enough to run the lives of 310 million people. And that's what they would do. If they came in here and said, we're going to put a ceiling on credit card rates, give that kind of cheap money populism, then you're right. Then credit card companies won't lend them anymore. Only people at the very top of the income curve will be able to get credit. And what will that do? Well, that will mean that we'll have less consumer spending. We will strangle the recovery in the crib. Just as we're starting to get recovery, they'll end up killing the recovery. I don't even think... They don't know that. They don't understand that. All they know how to do is play.
I mean, this is beyond the pale, Jerry. This would offset monetary stimulus. I don't care how much TARP money. I don't care how much Keynesian stimulus. You pull this. This is what they did in March and April and May of 1980 when Jimmy Carter did this thing and Paul Volcker was running the Fed and he was left holding the bag. He had to implement a law that was passed. It was destructive of the worst post-World War II recession.
It's terrible economics.
Now.
Terrible economics. But it's not bad, but it's pretty good politics. I mean, if you want a cheap political kick, then you hit the credit card companies, and that's what Congress does now. They do the cheap political trick.
Let me move on. Joe B., I got to ask you now. A very interesting piece by Jim Hamilton, University of California, San Diego economics professor, has been a guest on this show, not for a while, real smart guy. He did a big paper for the Brookings Institute, and you know what he concluded? The oil shock, particularly in the first half of 2008, was the single biggest driver of this terrible recession and credit crunch. So I want to ask you, Joe, probably for the 900th time, now that we've reversed the oil shock, isn't this a bullish omen?
Well, you'd like to say that, Larry, but we've had falling oil prices for quite some time now, and the economy is still contracting with no end in sight. So clearly, it doesn't have the reverse salutary effect, and I would challenge his conclusions, because I think the damage to wealth and the burden of credit has far trumped the impact of energy prices, which have moved all over the lot from $1 to $4 back to $1.
How do you know there's no end in sight? Isn't that what we're debating tonight, whether there is an end in sight? You can't assume what we're debating about in the premise of your argument. I think that the oil prices being lower, in fact, do put an end in sight.
Oil prices broke down last year, and we've seen nothing but contraction in the fourth quarter. You would agree to that. We have a contraction in the first quarter. You agree to that.
And probably less of one. We have better income numbers coming out. The first quarter earnings are better than people were expecting.
Yes, they're minus
because of the energy tax cut.
They're minus 37% versus minus 50. And if you listen to Caterpillar Tractor today, they see no end to the recession in 2009. It carries into 2010. They do not see the stimulus plan from this administration working. That is their public statement.
We're not talking about the stimulus plan works. We're talking about whether lower energy prices work.
Well, my
point is, the stimulus plan will not work. Let me settle that for them.
No, let me say that in their analysis, which assumes, I would say, a $50 barrel price, they don't see an end to recession this year.
Well, but maybe they're underestimating the impact. Jim Hamilton's a really smart guy. I don't want to get too hung up on this. Jerry Bowyer, you said an interesting thing, and I don't want to lose it before we have to go out. First quarter earnings coming in better than expected.
No,
I think I saw a sheet, Jerry, a Bloomberg sheet, that said actually negative surprises are lower so far in the first quarter than they were in the fourth quarter.
Yeah, almost everyone's beating expectations, especially the banks. This is what we've been arguing with Joey about all during the first quarter.
Minus
lower interest rates would help bank earnings, and now it's happened, Joe.
Fellas, the strategists and the analysts came into the year looking for $100 of S&P earnings. Now they're down to 50. This quarter will be minus 37. If you want to celebrate because it's not minus 40, be my guest. But you're not going anywhere.
Joe B. No one's celebrating, but the funeral dirge should end too.
The funeral dirge. Joe B. Buying or selling him? Right in here. Buying or selling him?
No buying, no selling.
No buy, no sell. Just neutral.
That's right.
Jerry Bowyer, buying or selling him right now?
Holding. I'm a little bull, a calf.
You're a calf.
Oh, interesting.
I'm a calf, a small bull.
All right, so wait, so you're
baby bull.
You're a small bull, so you're a little long. Is that what you're saying?
So for all the yelling and screaming, there's no great bullishness from the great Jerry Bowyer. What a disappointment.
Jerry, I got to give you the last word.
I didn't hear what he said. He was mumbling.
Tough break, Jerry.
All right, fellas. Next time, maybe before the week is out. Joe Battipaglia, Jerry Bowyer. Thank you, everybody. Coming up, another Bull Bear debate, this time on bank profits. The banks came in profitable. Now, my friend Andrew Ross Sorkin of the New York Times wrote a terrible article. He said the profits are appearing out of thin air. They're not real. I want to find out if they're real. When are profits real? TARP is a criminal enterprise, but profits might be real. You're watching the Kudlow Report straight ahead.